She stole my ATV, nearly ran down a baby stroller, and her mom, the almighty HOA president, tried to cover it all up with a fake doctor's note. And yet in the end, they weren't untouchable. That was the day our neighborhood finally snapped and the Dukes lost everything. It started on a quiet Saturday morning, the kind of morning where the air smells like fresh-cut grass and the only sound is a lawnmower 2 streets away. I had the garage door open, wiping down the ATV I'd spent 6 months restoring. Every bolt, every scratch polished out my project, my pride. That's when I felt eyes on me. Madison Duke. 16 years old, leaning against her mom's golf cart with that stupid little HOA president flag fluttering off the back. Phone in hand, smirk on her face. It was the look of someone who'd never been told no. "Nice toy, Cole," she said. I corrected her. It wasn't a toy, it was my machine. She laughed, tossed some fake HOA bylaw at me about the driveway being common area. I told her flat out, take another step and it's trespassing. But she didn't care. Her eyes locked on the spare key box by the garage door. My second mistake, leaving it there. I turned my back, hoping she'd wander off. My third mistake. Seconds later, my phone buzzed with a motion alert. The live feed showed her darting in, snatching the key, and slipping out like she owned the place. A second later, she was on the ATV, revving it up, without a helmet, one hand on the throttle, the other holding her phone for her live stream. She winked, gunned it, and tore down the street. My blood went cold. 6 months of work gone in a roar of exhaust. Pam came outside with her coffee just in time to see the tail end of it. "Was that our ATV?" she asked. I showed her the footage. She stole the key, she stole the bike. I called 911 right there. My hands weren't shaking, not yet, but there was this heavy calm, like a storm pulling in. The dispatcher patched me through while I followed at a safe distance in my truck. Madison was swerving, showing off for her live stream, cutting across lanes like she was invincible. "Do not pursue," the dispatcher said. "I'm not," I answered. "I'm a witness." I fed them location updates mile by mile. Pam patched into the AirTag I'd hidden in the ATV's storage box. Thank God I thought of that and relayed the exact GPS coordinates to dispatch. We were calm, precise, methodical. Madison was chaos on wheels. Then came the roundabout. She nearly flipped, barely regained control, and veered onto a residential street. A street full of kids. The sirens closed in the cruisers, boxed her off, and still she didn't stop. She whipped the handlebars, skidded toward Willow Creek Lane, and then I heard it. The squeal of tires, the crunch of metal, and then the scream. I parked and followed slowly, dread in my chest. My ATV lay twisted in the road, one wheel bent like a snapped leg. Madison was in a rose bush, crying crocodile tears. But the real horror was a stroller on its side wheel still spinning. Sarah from down the block clutched her baby, white-faced, shaking, while neighbors gathered in shock and fury. The ATV had missed the child by inches. Inches. Karen arrived, then screeching up in her pastel tracksuit, shrieking that I was harassing her daughter, waving some paper around like it was a holy relic. She shoved it at the officer, her big defense. A medical exemption notice she printed off the internet and signed herself. The cop looked at it, looked at her, and said flatly, "Ma'am, this is not a legal document. This is a piece of paper you signed." For the first time I saw her flinch. Madison went to juvenile hall that night. Karen kept screaming about conspiracies, but everyone had seen it. My neighbors, the police, the video, the baby stroller. Still, when I sat at the kitchen table that evening, I felt hollow. My ATV was wrecked, our peace shattered, and part of me wondered, what's the point? Karen always got away with it. Maybe it'd be easier to sell the house and leave. Pam didn't let me wallow. She pulled up the GPS log. Madison had stopped for 90 seconds near the HOA maintenance shed. Why, Pam dug deeper, found online ads for compliance pickups, phony towing listings run by HOA board members. They were planning to steal vehicles, extort $500 to give them back. Madison wasn't joyriding. She was their delivery girl. That's when the spark came back. This wasn't just about my ATV. It was a racket, and we had proof. The cops agreed to set up a sting. Chase, my buddy, loaned me his old beat-up ATV. We parked it in my driveway under a tarp, sent an anonymous complaint to the fake ad. Sure enough, that evening a rusty flatbed rolled up with Gary Peterson, board member, and Gage, the so-called head of HOA security. No uniforms, just two thugs with a winch. They started hooking up the ATV like they'd done it 100 times. I stepped out on the porch, coffee in hand. "Excuse me, can I help you?" Gage sneered. "Compliance pickup, Bylaw 11F. I told him I'd never heard of Bylaw 11F and asked them to leave. He puffed up, threatened me, stepped close, and shoved me in the chest. My instincts screamed to shove back, but I didn't. I raised my hands and said calmly, "You just assaulted me." On camera, streaming live to the police. His face cracked, the bluff landed, and then the real sirens erupted. Unmarked cars boxed in the truck, detectives poured out guns, drawn badges flashing. Gage froze. Gary dropped the winch hook and threw up his hands. Within seconds, both were cuffed. I stood on my porch, heart pounding, Pam at my side. We'd set the trap and it snapped shut. But Karen wasn't there. She was too smart for that. And when the police said the dash cam footage had vanished from evidence overnight, I felt that pit open again. She had strings to pull allies in places we couldn't touch. Maybe she really was untouchable. I sat there, fists clenched, ready to give up. But Pam just tapped the server humming in our office. "Backups," she said. We had the full resolution video uploaded automatically. We sent it straight to the detectives. That was the crack in Karen's armor. Hours later, with a warrant, they searched her house, and when they checked her designer purse, they found the missing SD card still in the police evidence bag. She had stolen it straight from the station. The HOA queen, the untouchable president, caught red-handed with tampered evidence in her handbag. She was arrested on the spot. The fallout was swift. Madison pled guilty in juvenile court probation, community service restitution. Gage and Gary folded, confessed, lost everything. Karen faced felony charges. At the emergency HOA meeting, the room was packed, boiling over with years of fines, threats, and petty tyranny. I stood at the podium, laid out the facts, the times, the videos. No speeches, just proof. When the vote came, every hand shot up. Karen was removed. Gage's contract was voided. The Duke dynasty collapsed in a single night. I didn't feel like celebrating. I just felt the quiet. The fight was over. The bullies exposed, the scam dismantled. The so-called untouchables had been touched hard, and in the end, that was enough. Because the truth is simple, no one is untouchable when an entire street stands together with proof.